Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. What can we say, Alison? The international break probably comes at the best moment because not only this team is losing players game after game, but this performance, this last game has been concerning. I mean, if we want to see the positive side, we probably saved Baroni's bench, right? With this draw, Baroni should be saved, should be able to have other 2 weeks on Torino's bench. But we are struggling to win at home, which is concerning. And yesterday looks a lot like Baroni's Lazio rather than Sarri's Lazio, right? We are conceding a lot of goals, scoring a lot of goals, luckily, but it's better to not watch the table so far because the situation is terrible.
Yeah, Baroni must have been looking at that and feeling like, yeah, not that much has changed since I left. For it was kind of like 4-2-3-1, Dia and Tati playing together and just complete chaos. Like I don't really know what that game was because it looked and felt so different to really any other game so far. And to be honest, to any game that Maurizio Sarri kind of wants to build as a coach. He's not exactly an expert in these end-to-end basketball style matches. And yet, to be honest, could have gone worse. And if you're not going to win a game, then don't lose. And I think it's frustrating because we were in front and it's a home game, all the rest of it, and feel like we should have won that game. But in the cold light of day, kind of looking back over the big chances in that match, Torino were definitely worthy of a point. And it leaves us asking again, like, what is going on with our home form? We thought maybe the Verona game, finally, this is over, this crazy run going back to February. But since then, we've got the derby and now this, and it's just not happening at home games, is it?
No, absolutely. But let's talk about the positive things before, and then we go to the negative. I kind of was shocked when I saw Basic making the assist for Cancellieri's second goal. I mean, if in June someone told you, "Hey, Basic is gonna make an assist and Cancellieri is gonna score a brace," with Lazio, I mean, it could have been with Salernitana, but with Lazio, you would say, "Hey, you are drinking too much, right?"
Yeah, and probably two of the better players on the pitch as well. Yeah, and a nice, not any assist, a kind of pinged crossfield ball, 50 yards or so, right into his path. Beautiful. Yeah, strange. I mean, good to see, like you say, focusing on the positives. Great to see Cancellieri build on that general performance. We definitely discussed and asked the question after that game: is this going to be like the moment? Can this spark him actually kicking on, or is this going to be a kind of one-off? And instead, he's gone even further. To be honest, he should have got 2 last week if he hadn't fluffed that big chance.
Yeah.
But he did get 2 this week, 2 great goals. The second one was absolutely textbook Matteo Cancellieri goal. And yeah, we said he likes running into space. He likes these more open games. These are the opponents, the matches where he's really going to show his quality rather than closed games. And so it was. It's just a shame that didn't come with a stronger defensive performance, but we can maybe get onto that. I think seeing 3 goals in 2 games from Cancellieri is a huge positive. And I mean, as you texted to our group chat at one point, it's going to be hard for Isaacson to get back into this team, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I texted after the first goal, but I have to reiterate after the second one. I mean, top scorer of Lazio. This is even worse, right? Matteo Cancellieri, top scorer. He scored more goals than Tati Castellano.
Yeah, but Noslin is slowly creeping into the picture. Vittorio, you'll be happy to see. It only took a complete injury crisis for him to be able to come on for 10 minutes or so at the end of a game. But made a difference.
He changed the game. I mean, the only 2 chances we had in the last 10 minutes were thanks to Noslin. I repeat myself, but if we're going to continue with this 4-2-4, and I'm not convinced we're going to do it, but I think Noslin is better suited to play close to Tati Castellanos rather than Dia. I mean, Cancellieri had a terrific game, even though, Alessio, we have to mention, he played on the right side, and he played great. When we moved Cancellieri on the other side, things changed. Cancellieri didn't play as well on the other side. But Cancellieri was definitely man of the match, obviously. Dia was probably one of the worst players on the pitch. He was rather invisible. And, I have my idea is that if Dia scores, okay. Otherwise, he's pretty much useless for this team. He doesn't provide assists. He doesn't fight. He doesn't create chances. So maybe it's better to have Nosley rather than Dia. Even Castellanos, to be honest, didn't do that much on Saturday. But at least you could see him fighting and doing a little bit. But Dia was very disappointed.
Can I be controversial and stick up for Boulaye Dia for a second? I think it's been unfair, the amount of criticism he's had for the last couple of performances, to be honest, because the guy is working his arse off. And like, if there's one thing we all said after the derby, and you said particularly, is that if the bare minimum we want from these players is that they show a bit of fight and determination and that they really care about playing for this jersey. And Dia has been, he's been like an animal out there. He's just like non-stop, absolutely running up and down, midfield to attack. He's covered, I can't remember if he was the top runner in the game, but he was right up there in terms of distance covered in both matches. He's the one who's been dropping deep to try and link up the midfield to the attack. He's doing a lot of the kind of dirty work, the unseen work. And I think obviously people want more from him than that. Like if you've got a player in that role, you want them to be scoring goals, creating goals, being a presence in the box and so on. So if he could add that to a performance where he is showing all that kind of industriousness and energy and hard work, then I think you'd have a really good performance on your hands. The problem is he's only doing the one side of it and not the other. And then the other problem is obviously the miss. Well, it wasn't a miss. It was a great save, to be honest, but he should have been scoring. I know it was offside, but he didn't. So when you have a moment like that in a game, I think your player rating drops by 2 in every newspaper, basically. So, and everyone forgets the other stuff you've done.
Can I say that was the first time I was delighted to see the linesman giving an offside to Lazio? Because, I mean, at least he didn't waste that chance. It was offside. Even if he scored, it would have been disallowed. Alistair, I have to tell you this. In the first half, Pedro passes the ball to the Torino player inside our box, and Provedel saves it. And I turned my back and talked to my son and said, if even Pedro is making this mistake, this is a terrible sign for us, right? I mean, I never saw Pedro doing such a stupid thing, right? He was around midfield and passes the ball directly to the Torino. I don't remember who it was, but he was in our penalty box, and Provedel was smart enough to react fast enough to block everything. I don't know. What's going on with the Lazio?
But then Pedro, being Pedro, 30 seconds later, played an absolutely beautiful assist through ball for Cancellieri. So he made up for it. But I mean, that question, what's going on with Lazio? I don't know, because I didn't see many common themes between this game and others. We kept clean sheets in Genoa. The derby was tight, didn't defend badly in that game. It was just that one big error from Tavares. Clean sheet against Verona. The Sassuolo game, again, tight, decided by one moment. So generally, this hasn't been a big issue this season, is that Lazio are getting carved open. I mean, I saw Torino, I think they had 17 shots on goal in this match, something like that. And XG-wise deserved to win this game. Provedel made some huge saves. I mean, the one on Adams at the end, don't worry, listeners, we'll get on to me cursing Lazio with Shea Adams, but that was an incredible save. So, questions about how he dealt with the Opal, perhaps, but I think Provedel, the second game in a row, kind of produced some big ones, but the defense kind of falling apart, or the structure of the team falling apart in this way, I can only think it's because of this new system, new players, a Cataldi Basic midfield, a kind of reinvented defense slightly. Like, it must be to do with all these changes, presumably.
Alistair, can I ask you, because you are probably the only Laziali praising Provedel after Saturday's game. I mean, the first goal, I'm not saying it's a terrible mistake, but from my point of view, it's a mistake. Even the third goal, I thought he could have done better. But you are praising Provedel, so maybe I'm wrong, which I'm never.
I think you can praise the good parts and criticize the bad parts. That's why I mentioned the goal as well, because I don't think he did very well with that. There were a couple of dodgy moments in there, but then you have to applaud some of the saves he made, because it's something, it's the main thing that he's been criticized for, is not producing these huge saves in big moments. And that's exactly what he did yesterday. At the end of that game, forget about everything else that happens. That one, that shot is going in the bottom corner until he gets his fingertips on it. And that's a top class save.
Absolutely. Can I say something, Alistair? Our four-man defense is really struggling. And, we can point out Nuno Tavares, but we cannot blame only Nuno, right? I mean, Gila and Romagnoli are conceding too many chances to our opponent. The second goal is simply unacceptable. I don't remember who scores it, but he's all alone in our penalty box. And Romagnoli is the closest man, and he's like 2 meters far from the player. I mean, who's marking him? I mean, what are we doing, right? Gila as well, not a great performance. Isai, we know what we get from Isai, but what's going on?
Can you actually not remember who scored that, or are you just setting me up here?
I don't remember. Simeone, maybe. No.
Yeah.
By the way,
I'll put my hands up. I gotta apologize, because I said in the last podcast the ideal outcome ahead of a huge international break for Scotland was going to be Shea Adams scores and Lazio win. Now, one of those things happened.
Yeah, but not what we were hoping for.
And by the way, he never scores goals like that for Scotland. It was like an unbelievable first-time finish in the top corner.
Where did he put it? I mean, it's amazing. I mean, not even Donnarumma would have saved that, right? It was incredible.
Absolutely, yeah, perfect. So that was frustrating, but inevitable. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, though. I mean, I was watching the replay back this morning. What was happening there? I mean, just standing in this huge gap between the two of them. That's a structural issue. It's a communication issue. I don't know. It's just, it's not what you expect, because no matter what the other changes are that's going on in this team, the fullbacks, the midfield pairing, whatever, that kind of central trident of Provedel, Romagnoli, and Gila is unchanged and should be kind of pretty well set up by now in terms of communication between each other and how they move together and so on. So that was a big surprise. And you mentioned this actually in the podcast with Gila than with the two of them. But yeah, I mean, it's a defensive error, isn't it?
Yeah. Can we say another thing, Alistair? Lazio's famous for buying players that scores against us. What are we waiting to sign Simeone? I mean, if Simeone played only against Lazio, he would have won the Golden Boot, 10 times in a row. He's scoring every single game against us. I mean, with Verona, I think everybody remembers it, right? He scored 4 goals in a game. I think that was the only time he scored 4 goals in a game, obviously, against Lazio. He's scoring. I was going to the stadium. I was 100% convinced Simeone would have scored if he played, and he did. Again, Provedel not great, but I mean, there's only one player to mark in the box, right? Simeone. You know he's gonna score, and our defense is not great, not
Yeah.
performing as. I mean, one thing we said before the start of the season, Alisson, was with Sarri we expect to concede far less goal than last season. We are, what is it, 7 goals conceded in 6 games? That's not good, right? And we scored 10 and we conceded 7. That's bad. That's really bad.
Yeah, and that first goal, I think, exposed a lot of problems there, didn't it? I mean, the cross comes in, it goes past everyone, nobody can deal with it, but then too slow to get out to him, like a free man. I think it was Pedersen. Tavares is just too slow to react to that and get any pressure on him. Provedel's punch is too weak, or he needs to claim it, one or the other, because it lands at Simeone's feet. We've just discussed the second goal, the big gap in defence, and then the third one too, Vittorio. Do we have an issue defending set pieces? Because was it Sassuolo the game where we conceded from the corner too? I mean, both times it's felt a little bit. I mean, it can happen. You can concede goals from corners, but it's just that it's happened a couple of times quite recently that it made me wonder.
Yeah, a lot of friends wrote me saying, "Hey, it's a foul. The one that is pushing Lazzari is on offside." Guys, come on. I mean, we are gonna talk about the referee probably because the penalty it's embarrassing, but we are conceding 2 easy goals. I don't know if Provedel has to step up and grab it, but I mean, Romagnoli, Hila, we have good headers, and we are making a lot of mistakes there. So that's bad. We're defending badly. Alistair, do you think Basic is going to start even next game? I mean, Guendouzi should be back. Cataldi played decent game. I was not happy about Belayan performance, and I was a little bit surprised to not see him starting. But then when he came in, I think I understood why he didn't start. I thought Basic played a great game. And it's concerning a player who, in the last 2 years, didn't see the pitch, is been good, decent against Genoa. And, I mean, even better against Torino. He made that terrific assist. I don't remember huge mistakes from Basic. So, do you think he deserves to start next game?
Well, it made me wonder, like, is this just a great example of the general drop in quality in the squad? That probably the last time Basic was a genuine option, a rotated player in this squad, was when we had a midfield that did have Luis Alberto in it. Milinkovic-Savic prior to that. And now...
Don't make me cry, please.
But now watching Basic come on is probably not as big a drop in quality as what we used to have. So a lot of the criticism that he got early doors was that he was seen as being this like alternative to Milinkovic-Savic, which is an unfair expectation of a player because there's only one Sergei. But yeah, I think he's done exactly what he had to do, right? And what we want players to do when they get these chances, gotta take them. And he's done that not by doing anything particularly spectacular. His assist was great, but he's just gone there and done his job. Like he's given everything he's got, and he's done what's been asked of him, really. And he's a very different kind of player to Belayan. So I think that's probably an advantage to him in a way because he's more of an alternative to Dele-Bashiru, really, in terms of play style. I think the two of them alternating would make more sense than it being a choice between Dele-Bashiru and Belayan because they're just so different. But I don't really know where Belayan fits into this team yet. I'm still not entirely sure about him as a Mezzala. There's a complicated array of options, and the question for me really is what happens with the squads now, because for me, Basic has earned a place in this squad. He shouldn't be dropped back off the Serie A list after starting 2 games
in which we've got 4 points and he's been one of our better players in both games, it would be unfair to then just dump him. But what do we do? Because obviously somebody needs to go. I've read this morning, Vecino could come out because he's still not back to fitness. That could be the case, but then a fully fit Vecino, if we ever get one, is one of our best midfielders in this team, because we don't have a whole load of quality. So it's a bit of a complicated situation. But if you're asking me if he should stay in the squad, definitely. I'm not saying he has to be a nailed-on starter every week, but I think he's earned a place in this squad now.
I mean, now the fixture gets complicated, right? I think we have Atalanta next, and then there's Juventus. So there's a couple of difficult games. But I think Basic should be in the mix, even because, and I mean, you said it a little bit, our players are not performing that great football. So it's not such a huge gap between Guendouzi and the Guendouzi we saw this year and Basic playing. So, I mean, Basic should be starting. The thing we have to mention, Alistair, is we said one of the advantages this season is that not playing in Europe means less games, so we should have less problems. Instead, we are in a critical situation now. Rovella should have a surgery in these coming days, so he should be off 1 month. You mentioned Vecino, that is a sort of a mystery. We don't understand what's going on there. Pellegrini and Maruzic weren't available on Saturday. They could be available after the international break. Zaccagni was called, but in the end finished outside the squad. It looks like his injury is worse than expected. He could be out 1 month. I mean, these injuries are piling up, and already we don't have a huge list of players. We are really, really struggling going forward, and this is a huge problem, right? I mean, missing players like Zaccagni and Rovella, those are, don't want to say leaders, but should be top players. And it's going to be a big problem. And it's fun enough, because we said, hey, without the international games, we should be better. Instead, it's getting worse. Alison, what's going on? What's your take on this injury piling up?
Well, I mean, I find this whole start to the season a bit confusing, to be honest. And I was wanting to ask you on your take so far, because international break is a good moment of kind of taking stock of where we've got to. So 6 games into the season, and just been such a confusing season, really, to try and judge, because we were always a certain way in those opening games. It was always right. The question is, who's going to play as the Mezzala? Can Delishiru improve? Where are the goals coming from? Because apart from that one Tati masterclass against Verona, we didn't see much in the way of attacking flair. And then this injury crisis has changed everything, because it's forced Sarri into playing a different formation, a different style, and it's forced him to bring in players who were overlooked previously. And it's just asked different questions about what the options are within this squad. And all of a sudden, we're scoring loads of goals, 6 goals in 2 games. But at the expense, obviously, particularly this weekend, of defending well. And it's just left me not really knowing what this means for this season. As in, like, is these couple of games, have they shown Sarri a road forward in an attacking sense to try and get more out of this team? Or is he just going to revert back, once he's got his options available, to what he wanted to do previously, which wasn't getting results, but maybe he saw that as part of a process. We keep going, and we'll get there eventually. And I don't really know, but the problem is, like you've just alluded to, but once we get back, 3 of the next 5 games are Atalanta, Juve, and Inter, and we've not had that difficult a start, Vittorio. It's that, apart from the Rome derby, we've not really had difficult games.
Yeah, I think the biggest question mark we have, and this is again surprising, but it tells you a lot about the start of the season, is are we going to switch back to the 4-3-3, or are we sticking with this 4-2-4, or call it how you want it? Because after the game, Sarri didn't talk, and Alisson, this is, maybe I'm wrong, but it's becoming concerning, right? After Sassuolo game, he had a problem. After the Torino game, he had a physical issue. And I get it, I was nervous after that finish of the game. But I mean, you're a manager of a top club. You're gonna have this type of games, this type of end of games, etc. Which is concerning to see our manager. I mean, 6 game, 2 times he didn't show up for the press conference after the game. But it's surprising to think 4-3-3, 4-4-2, or maybe something in between. With Sarri, we knew, right? It's 4-3-3, and we're gonna stick to it. Now, I'm not 100% convinced we're going back, even because, as you were mentioning, we scored at Genoa. I don't know if you saw the game last night, but Genoa nearly got a point from Napoli. And I mean, Napoli, it's a much, much, much better team than Lazio, unfortunately. So we destroyed Genoa, who didn't deserve to lose that much. But we didn't concede anything. I mean, Provedel made a couple of good saves. We didn't concede goals against Genoa. And then suddenly against Torino, who's a team that's struggling a lot, we conceded 3. So I'm wondering if we have to go back to the 4-3-3 or stick with this more offensive-minded type of football. And, is Eriksen is going to play in the international break? Is Eriksen going to be back, or we're sticking with Cancellieri? What about Basic? We have a lot of question mark, and this is probably the first time with Sarri that we are facing all this uncertainty going forward.
Yeah, and probably the answer has to be flexibility, and the fact that we maybe against the smaller teams, the games where we're favourites, we should be taking the game to them more, attacking more, playing with 2 strikers to try and get those games to bed before they become closed and difficult and awkward. And maybe in the bigger games where we're going to have to dig in more, we can revert to 4-3-3 and rely more on that structure and shape that Sarri knows about. But the question for me is really, will Sarri be willing to do that? Because he is, for all his qualities, flexibility isn't one he's famous for. He kind of knows what he likes, and he even made a comment about this, earlier or in pre-season. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something like, I'm too old to change now. And I think that this might have been enough to make him think twice, or to make him realize there's different ways of getting a tune out of this team. But in terms of working out how best to use this squad, and how best to use it week by week when we've got this chance to prepare for each league match. I'm not convinced that just using the same system and shape every single time and trying to play the same way every single time is necessarily the way to go. I think perhaps we need to be changing it and being a bit more flexible in that way.
Do you think we could stick to this 4-4-2 and maybe play Nuno Tavares higher on the pitch, like a left wing rather than a left back? Is that could be an option? Because one of the things I thought about is against Genoa with Marusic on one side and Pellegrini on the other one, we had fullbacks that I don't want to see a better, good defenders because Pellegrini isn't, but better than Isai and Nuno Tavares. And you can see the difference. So do you think if we get Pellegrini back, Marusic back, we're going to stick with this new tactics because we have a little bit more balance rather than with Nuno Tavares and Isai? Could that be the reason?
I mean, I struggle to see Tavares as a winger because when he's playing at left back, the pitch is all in front of him, right? So it's a bit easier to kind of to visualize those runs and make those attacks and make those sprints. Whereas playing with your back to goal more on the wing in tight spaces, defenders around you, is a very different kind of role. I'm not sure that we would be any less frustrated with his defending if he played on the wing. We'd probably still find reasons
that helps him behind him. That helps him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's such a, well, what did Sarri say? He's anarchic, and I think it's such a great description. And he's not going to change, is he? It's not like we've seen this season suddenly Sarri's come on and Tavares is a changed man. I just wonder. So I can't really see him changing his position or anything like that. But I do wonder if he'll just pick his moments to use him more. You know, where we can take greater risks, or try and tweak the system a little bit. So almost if you play him and then you've got like almost a third centre back on the right, it means that any time he goes, you can kind of step across and form a back three. And you know that plenty of coaches have used systems like that over the years to try and get some attacking out of your defense without giving too much away. So I don't know. I think there are options there and ways of using Tavares. And I know he got a bit hammered after the Torino game, but he was a nuisance in a lot of that match. Like, he was creating all sorts of chaos when he was getting forward. And, you know, he's making the wrong decisions quite often, and it's not really working out some of the time. But he really does give teams something to think about, which is unlike any of our other fullbacks.
I don't know. I didn't see him playing very focused, and that was a huge chance, Alisson. Let's not forget about that. He made us lose the derby, and this was the first start after the derby. If I was Nuno Tavares, I would have give everything in that game. He didn't. He didn't look very focused, and this is concerning. I mean, we don't have Manchester City quality players, so if you're playing, you have to give everything on the pitch. And the impression that a lot of Lazio players on Saturday didn't is concerning. I think this is one of them. I mean, we don't need Messi or Milinkovic-Savic to beat Torino.
I like how those are the two players you've got the top of your pantheon. Yeah, I mean, just before we wrap up, I did just want to ask about your experience in the stadium. Of there, you know, more anti-Lotito protests and people bringing the signs and everything and singing. And now that video's gone around of showing the orchestra as he listens to the chants against him. And since then, he's now come out and started talking about the chance of unblocking the transfer market in January, even though there seems to be a bit of lack of clarity over whether that's a total, open transfer market or if it's only that you can spend what you take in. Anyway, all of this to say, what was the atmosphere like with the Lotito protests, and what do you think about his kind of reaction? And we've been frustrated by this kind of thing before, but the whole like dancing to the music thing.
I didn't see that video, to be honest with you, but it was weird because at the beginning they said that the first 15 minutes of the game, the Curva Nord would have been silent. Instead, the first 15 minutes they keep singing songs against Claudio Lotito, so they changed their mind. And I think it's better to chant against Lotito rather than be silent. And I mean, we are in this terrible situation thanks to Lotito. In January, we are not going to be able to do transfer market. We are going to sell players to buy new ones. So it's what you're getting in, you can spend. So it's going to be not frozen, but you have to sell before buy, which is typical for Lazio in January. But I mean, this team has a lot of things to do. What can I say? Well, I was curious, Alistair, and surprised to see the Curva Nord chanting for Marco Baroni, because I didn't think last season we finished well, and instead the Laziali praised Marco Baroni. I thought that was surprising, as you know, we finished so bad last year. I thought they had something against him, so that was curious. But let's talk about the penalty, because I wasted 10 minutes of my life there waiting for the VR. And to everybody watching on YouTube, etc., I wear glasses, and I wasn't that close, and I could see it clearly that was a penalty. There were no mistakes. My only concern, when I saw VAR taking so long, I thought maybe Noslin is offside and they're checking if he was onside or rather not. I mean, that's clear penalty. 10 minutes to check that penalty, that's disaster. That's terrible, right?
Very, very hard to understand how it wasn't given in real time, ref's position, where he's looking directly at it. It's right in front of him. And, you see a replay, and it's just like, as undisputable as a penalty can possibly be. He's literally like, his path of running is that direction, and he gets wiped out at a 90-degree angle without any touch on the ball. But thankfully, VAR is there for these moments now. Then again, would he have just given if VAR wasn't there? Is this referees not having the courage to make decisions because they know they can lean on?
Like he did this sign, like nothing happened. It's all clear. Which is, after you said that and you've been called by the VAR, you should give up as a referee and say, "Hey, I'm gonna start from doing another sport." That was terrible, unacceptable. 10 minutes it took. It's the VAR should have take 30 seconds and say, "Hey, it's a penalty. Don't even go and check it." It's incredible, honestly. It's incredible. And I want to point out who provided us the penalty, who got the penalty. Tijani Nosley.
Yeah, which was it the Avellino game in pre-season? He did the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's a tricky dribbler, so he can cause problems in the box against defenses. It was really good as well, like the way he won the ball back, and kind of pivoted to get into the box.
Can we say something? Noslin has been great, but Dembele, you're an idiot. The game is over. If you kick the ball outside, it's finished. It's literally finished. Instead, what you do, you are in your penalty box. You control the ball, try to dribble past Noslin, and you lose it. I mean, you shouldn't play football anymore. If you do something like that, you're an idiot. So thanks Dembele for your stupid mistake, and thank Noslin. And again, every time he comes in, he creates chances. He needs to start, Alistair.
Well, it's a chance now if Zaccagni's out for a while. I mean, I'm not sure how long he'll be out. The last thing I read said it's a bit worse than feared, but we'll see what that means. But yeah, I mean, there's a chance for him then on the left. It just depends on what Sarri thinks he is now. He's admitted himself he doesn't really know what Noslin is. If he continues with this formation, obviously there's a chance there to play in Dia's role, to take that off him, or to play on the left. But yeah, I mean, he makes an impact, and he kind of always has since Sarri's come in. So it is a bit surprising that he's not played more. I can only think it's because Sarri listened to our preseason preview and has a problem with Vittorio's predictions.
Definitely, that's the blame. Can I ask you if you've been surprised to see Cataldi taking the penalty? Because I thought the penalty taker is Tati Castellano, right? Zaccagni, Castellanos, and maybe Cataldi's number 3. So,
yeah. Well, at the time, I was scrambling to try and remember who takes them if Zaccagni is not there.
Well, from the pitch, we have to say, I don't know if the TV showed it, that as the ref stopped the game to check with the VAR, Cataldi immediately took the ball and said, "I'm taking it." So Cataldi has been 10 minutes with his ball, and so it was pretty clear from the stadium who's going to take the penalty. But yeah, I was surprised because I thought Tati Castellanos was was the number one for the penalty, which I'm not convinced. He missed penalties with Lazio, not only one, more than one. So I was happier to see Cataldi taking it, but still, it was curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think he felt the responsibility as one of the vice captains in the team, as someone to step up and kind of take that pressure on his shoulders. So credit to him, and it's a great penalty. I mean, the circumstances. They said on DAZN at the time that it was the latest goal Lazio have ever scored in Serie A, which kind of surprised me because we used to have Felipe Caicedo play for us. I was like, surely Caicedo scored the latest goal ever.
We scored 95 minutes with Cataldi. I thought Caicedo scored at 96 or 98 against Cagliari.
That's what I thought. But I can't remember how late the Cataldi penalty was because it was later than 95.
Yeah, it took 10 minutes. You're right.
Gone through the 103, yeah, 103.
Yeah.
So okay, that tells.
Yeah, but do you consider the time spent waiting for the VR like time played? I don't think so. So that's the thing. But I don't know. Anyway, it was good to score it was good. I don't know. I mean, okay, you celebrate because you scored, but a draw at home against Torino, this type of Torino that was struggling, there was rumors, Alison, that De Rossi would have taken the job if Baroni lost the game against Lazio. So it's a huge missed opportunity, I think.
Yeah, it is, and it's a game I definitely described as a must-win beforehand, and Torino, one of the teams who've got off to a worse start in the league. Home games against struggling opposition, we just got to be winning these games, and we have to find a way of digging in, winning ugly when we need to as well. Just getting results, because overall, I mean, coming back to this this kind of review of where we are so far after 6 games, 7 points from 6 games. It's not great. It's still not the end of the world. It's definitely a worse start than we had hoped for, but the table's still so tight that you look at it now and there's 3 points between us and 6th place. So things we're still early enough in the season that things can change very quickly. But the main problem for me is, like we just touched on, I don't feel like we've kind of like step out of understanding what this team is, who the first choice names are, injuries disrupting the tactical changes. It's all just a little bit confused, and probably not the worst time for a break, even though I know you don't like them.
No, definitely the perfect time, I would say, because we have more opportunity, more chance to get the injury players back. But I mean, you're right. Great confusion, not only in the club, but also on the pitch, also on the tactics. So next game are going to be really important and really difficult, Alistair. I think we can wrap it up here. Alistair, thanks for joining me. Thanks everybody for listening. Remember, if you like the podcast, you can support us on patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Membership starts at $2 a month, and you can listen to our podcast ad-free, and you have an exclusive podcast a month. So consider subscribing to our Patreon page. And I think we're going to take our international break as well, right, Alistair? And we'll be back probably after Lazio-Atalanta. Or is it Atalanta-Lazio? I don't remember now.
After Shea Adams has completely failed to score the kind of goal he scored against Lazio.
He wasted his opportunity against us. Thanks, everybody, who listened. Take care.